Hi everyone and welcome back to She Stitch, and this is Melanie. Today I'm going to be showing you two different joining techniques for joining squares of different sizes. Both of these techniques will work for the crochet along. The first one that I'll be showing you today is just a zigzag slip stitch join. It's pretty easy to do, but it's hard to keep your tension just right in order to make all the zigzags even, but it is easy and fun to do. It kind of has a cool effect. And then secondly, I'll be showing you the tight braid. Now you can see here I did it with crochet thread on a project this is the same project I'm working on in two different colors, or this is what it looks like in just one color. Now this is a technique that can be used, really, it's very flexible. So here I did it using 2 single crochets and then a chain 3, and that is something that can be altered depending upon the size of the squares that you're joining together. All right, let's go ahead and get started. All right, wanted to start off by saying all of the yarn that I'm using that's a size 4 is the Caron 1 pound. It's a medium size 4. And I'm going to bring in the pale green colorway now, which is this lighter color, to show you how to do the zigzag join. Now I'm doing the zigzag join first just because it's the easiest to learn, and then I'm going to put a time here if you want to skip this and just go straight to the tight braid join. There is the time there, so you can just do a jump. So I'm going to start with a slip stitch on my hook. So I hold it between my 4 fingers like this. I go down and under, pull it through, and then I pull it through like that. Alright, now I'm not going to pull this too tight just because I struggle sometimes. So for the crochet along, this is the size 4 hook that I'll be using, and that's the size of the hook that we did all of the borders in. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to start off with the corner. So the corner for our crochet along, the corner should have 3 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to go into that corner there. And I'm just going to do a slip stitch. Oops. I've been working with some crochet thread and I hold my yarn differently, so I was winding that backwards. Okay, so you're just going to, so this is the slip stitch you just did, and then just go ahead and pull through, and there you have your first slip stitch. And now the way that this join works, you're going to alternate between 2 pieces. So you can see in the background here I've got our popcorn stitch, and it's in the gray. And so let's find the corner here. So we've got 1, 2, and 3 in this corner. So I'm going to go into that corner one, and we're going to go from the top down, and we're going to hold the yarn under, you can see here I'm holding it under the piece, or under both of the squares. Let me zoom out a little bit just because this is, you get to see my backgrounds a little bit. But so you're going to stab under and hold the yarn under the work, and I'm going to be holding my yarn totally different than I normally do for this stitch. I'm just going to be pinching it with my fingers. So just pull that through and you just do a slip stitch, and then pull it through again, and there you have, starting to get those 2 pieces to join together. Now the way that this works is you're always going to be alternating. So here I'll be going blue, taupe, blue, or I'll call this tan, blue, tan, back and forth, okay? So what you do now is you just insert in here and pull up for another slip stitch. And that, you can see the little zigzags are starting to appear. Then you go over to the next one. So this is the next stitch on the other square. And then yarn over in the back, on the bottom down there, pull through. Oops, pulled a little bit too far. A little too passionate about that pull through. But this is really easy to do. As you can see, you just go next stitch, pull it through. There we go. Then you're going to go into that next stitch on the next piece, stabbing downward, then yarn over, pull it back through. Now when I was doing this, I did end up adjusting with my tension hand quite a few times in order to get that right. So insert your hook, yarn over, pull it through, pull it through. There you go. And you can see it's pretty easy to do. There are some people that do some fancy hook movements when they're doing this one. in order to add extra twist and stuff to the part that's being shown. But this is just a really easy way to join. You can really do it very quickly if you do it this way, but it is a very tight joining method. So these two pieces are going to be held very close to each other. So if there's any variance in size of your pieces, or if you make any mistakes, it's going to be a little bit harder to hide. But say, you can see here this Cape Cod, this dark blue, is a little bit more loose than this, and that's because the base hook for this was a 3.5, and the base hook for this was much bigger. I don't remember right now, but it is a lot bigger of a stitch. I think it's a 5.5 or something like that. So they are a little bit different, but you can see, working that out quickly, it does make a really cool stitch. Obviously it's a very visible joining method. But that's basically how you do it. And I'll go ahead and I'll speed through this and I'll show you the corner. Alright, so here we are now. I'm at the end, but before we talk about the corners, I just wanted to talk about tension a little bit. So this part here I did with a really tight tension, and that was easier for me to keep consistent. But this does have a different look, so if you're looking for this type of a look, which I was using here, it's more of a loose tension. So you can play with your tension until you find a good medium. I probably like the medium tension versus the very tight or very loose. But I just wanted to show you the different ways that you can get that to come out just by holding your tension differently. Alright, so now we're here at the end, and you can see I went down, up. So now I'm going to want to come back down, and I'm going to go to the blue here and pull that through. And now I'm going to want to start incorporating this second piece. Now you have two choices when you come over here. What you can do is you can go through this other border here like this, and I always try to go through 2 yarn when I'm going through, unless I'm doing back loop only or something like that. Sorry, my kids, if you can hear them in the background. So the only thing when you do that though is you're going to end up with 1 yarn here and 1 yarn showing. So I think the superior thing to do is to go under that and just to grab down under here. So I'm grabbing the base of the square instead of the border from where I was doing it before. And I just think that that ends up looking a little bit nicer instead of breaking up that other zigzag in half. So I'm going to pull through there. Alright, so I went down, and now I'm going to go back up over to the tan. The most important thing when you're doing this is to keep that zigzagging keep that zigzag pattern going. So you might have thought that I was going to jump over to the gray here, but what you really do want to keep that up down so that it doesn't stand out too much in the long run. If you just have straight lines, it'll stand out. And now I'm going to jump down here to the gray and just go down, and then I'll go back up. So that was a down, and then I'm going to go back up to the tan here. So it's just depends on how you how you've worked your corners and that kind of thing, but basically I think it looks cool with the 2 borders bumping up against each other, or you can do it going through. Let's straighten this guy out now. And then we would, oh goodness, sorry. And then you would just go up there. So it's going to be that zigzagging. And just give it a couple tries if you don't like the way your lines are coming out, and keep on going. Now let's go ahead and start off with that tight braid join. All right, now we're going to switch over to the tight braid join. Now this is a little bit different because this method can be used as a join as you go method, meaning that you can complete it on each square and attach it as you go. So to illustrate that, I'm just showing you what I'm doing with the crochet thread, and this is the tight braid join done in 2 colors. So the solid color, like this square for example, is the white, and then I did the blue border on it, and this one's blue and I did the white border on it, and you can kind of see how that twists. It kind of has that braided effect, which is why it's called a tight braid. So what happens with this, if you're doing it as a join as you go, you can just go ahead and the first square starts off a little bit different, and you just do the border on it, and then as you go along and you add each next square in, you're going to be attaching it as you go. So you can see, like, I'm just kind of choosing as I go where to place these. So you can kind of place any square where you want it. You don't have to like go left to right or anything like that. And you can choose it that way. So here in the background, I've already joined 3 squares, but I'm going to show you how to start off from just 1 square. Now, I forgot to mention this earlier, but I am using a Susan Bates inline hook, and I do suggest the inline hooks for this just because sometimes our borders get a little bit tight. So it's a lot easier to get this through some of those tight hooks sometimes when it has that nice pointed edge. So that's why I recommend this. So let me grab the yarn and let's get started. Okay, so now I've got my yarn and the first square that we're going to be working on. Now for the crochet along, your border should have 32 single crochets on each side. And the way that we count that is, you can see here we have 3 stitches in each corner. So if you go from that middle stitch to the middle stitch over here, it'll count 32 single crochets. Now you can alter this pattern if you have more or less by, you know, taking away or adding single crochets at any point. I will be uploading onto my blog a diagram of what this looks like, so that might help. So check the links in the description for a picture or for a link to the picture of how this all works out. So we've got the 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to count from here and I'm going to go backwards 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's a little bit weird right here because this is where I joined in the yarn, but where I'm going to go in is right here on the 7th one where I have my end coming out. So just count back from that third one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and insert into that 7th one. And then we're just going to do a standing single crochet. So you have that slip stitch here and then just yarn over in the back, pull it through, yarn over, pull it through for another single crochet. And that's how I've been joining on the yarn. And then you just do another single crochet. And now we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and we're going to skip 3. So 1, this is a little weird right here because this is where I have my ends from the gray border I did. So we're going to skip 1, 2, 3, and then in the then we're going to do 2 single crochets. So these single crochets are going to, so we'll do the first one, and then this next single crochet should be in that third one, or that middle of the 3 single crochets that go in the corner. All right, so you can see I have 1, 2, 3 of my corner, and that second single crochet should end up in the middle one. All right, and then what we're going to do for the border, or for the corner, is we're just going to chain 1 and leave that little bit of open space for later. When we go to attach on, we'll need that single crochet. So now we're going to start on the second side here, and what we're going to do is we have that chain 1 space, and then we are going to do 2 single crochets, and we're going to go into that same single crochet that is the middle of the 3, and we're going to do another single crochet into there, and then another single crochet. So now for our corner, you can see that these guys are here's our extra chain space, and these guys are sharing the same hole. Now if your counts are a little bit off, you can make it so they don't share the same hole, and that's one way to make up for any losses. And then this is what we're going to be repeating the whole time. We're just going to be chain 3 and skip 3, 1, 2, 3, and then 2 single crochet, 1 and 2. So that's what we'll do down the whole side. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, skip 3, 1, 2, 3, and then 2 single crochet. Oops. 1 and 2. So you can see now that your chains should not be too loose or too tight so that it would be pulling the piece to not be flat anymore. So just work on that tension to make sure that that's nice and even so that the gaps aren't too big or too small. So go ahead and continue that around. I'll show you how to do that corner again. Here I have the side all finished out, and I have come to the edge of the row. So I have my chain 3 here, and we're going to skip 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to do our next step. So 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to do our 2 single crochets again in the edges. So 1 here, and then 1 into that third. You can see the 3 single crochets here. I'm going to go into that middle one. Then I'm going to chain 1 and go back into that same space and do another single crochet in the next space, and then repeat that pattern of chain 3, 1, 2, and 3, skip 3, and then 2 single crochet. So I'm going to go ahead and finish that off on the whole rest of this square. Alright, so I have finished going all the way around the rest of the edges, and I'm up here back at the top, and you can see I ended with that 2 single crochet. And then what we're going to do is, just like before, we're going to do the 1, 2, 3 chains, and we are going to skip 3, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to link this back up, pull it through, and then what you do is just cut it and tie it off. So now, but I'm not going to do that just because I'm going to take this out and I'm going to show you guys how to join these to the other pieces. So this is what your first square should look like once you are done. So you can see we have, you know, it kind of adds like a nice fun detail, and we will have you do one square like this, and then after that you're going to be adding on the other square. So let me bring out my thread sample again. So you can kind of add these however you want to go, like whatever color you want to add next to the other ones. You don't have to go left to right. You can kind of just join as you see fit. So let me go ahead and pull this out, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to be joining this next one. I'm going to be joining here. So I'm going to rip out all the way to here, and I'll start from this corner and I'll work along and then up, and I'll show you also how to do the corners are a little bit tricky. Then we'll do the easy part here, and then this corner with the 4 join will be a little bit tricky once you get here, so I'll talk you through that, and then I'll show you how to finish it off. All right, so I went and I took that all back down to the last 2 stitches from the other side, and now it's going to be a little bit hard to work with all of these squares in my small filming space here, so bear with me as I try to figure out the best angle. I might do a few different shots. So now we're going to be turning our work, and we're going to be going this way. So I'm going to turn the piece that we're joining, I'm going to turn that upside down so that it's facing the same way as the direction I'm crocheting in. And let's see, I'll move you guys a little bit here. Okay, so now we're going to have this chain. So we're going to do the chain, and then I'm going to pull it a little bit extra loose so that I don't accidentally lose it. And then I'm going to come back down here to our piece that we're going to be connecting it to. And here you can see the chain space that I left when I was doing the border on the other piece. So I'm going to insert my hook, and then I'm going to grab back onto this from the other piece that we're the active one that we're working on. Oops. I'm going to pull that tension out, and I'm just going to pull this chain through here. And then I'm just going to try to get a little bit of that other yarn, so you can see here that chain is kind of coming through. And then I'm going to go back down, and I'm going to single crochet into that same spot, just like we were doing before for the corners. So I'm going to do a single crochet in here. Now this is the hardest this is like kind of an awkward stitch because you've got so much going on here, but just go ahead and try to keep it as your tension as normal as possible, as close to normal as possible, and then do 2 single crochets. So it's the same exact repetition. The only thing that's changing is that we've got that chain stitch that's holding these pieces together. Okay, so there you can see what our first join looks like. And now, so we did those 2 single crochet, and the next part of our repetition is a chain 3. So let's do that chain 3. And then what we're going to do is the same thing as before. We're going to take out our hook, And then we're going to go to that same chain 3 on the other piece. So this is on my angel stitch here. We're going to, sorry, there's cat fur everywhere. So we're going to insert here into that gap, and we're going to pull that chain back through here. So basically what this is doing is it's just using the chains to link them together, and the inside of that single crochet that we're doing is actually what's, you know, pinching them together. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, and we're going to do the single crochets down here. So I'm counting on the piece that we're attaching, 1, 2, 3, the active piece, and we're going to do the 2 single crochets. So this is the one where you might struggle with your tension a little bit, but just try to get it as normal as usual as possible. 1 and 2. That's the piece that's doing most of that linking work, and then another single crochet. So then you can see here it kind of does like a DNA spiral. So this chain, these sets of chains right here is from the angel wing stitch, and this ones that's going under and around and back up the front are from the active piece that we're attaching. This is the V-stitch cluster, if you were wondering. Okay, then we're going to do that again. We're going to do the chain 3. I'm going to take out my hook, come around here to the next chain 3 space, insert my hook, grab this, I'm trying to get my tension back, pull it through, there we go. Then we're going to skip 3, 1, 2, 3. So this is where I'm going to insert for my single crochet. There, you can see a little better. And we're going to do 1, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through again. So there's that single crochet attaching it, and we've got the cream yarn. You can see kind of linking it up there. And then another single crochet. All right, 1, 2, 3. All right, so that's how you do the corners. You're going to be doing that. That's why that single chain in the corners is important, so that you can link the corners. And then you're going to go ahead and do that all the way around. Continue doing the process that we just did, where you do the chain 3, take it out, pull it through the other piece, pull it around, skip 3, 1, 2, 3, keep going, 1 and 2. Now, as I said before, you can do some adjustments. So if, for whatever reason, if the pieces that you're joining, if they don't have the same number of stitches, you can kind of, you know, maybe skip an extra stitch, or you know, add an extra single crochet at these points so that they stay, as long as they're staying, so that they lay flat next to each other, you're okay to do a little bit of improvisation in order to make those stitches lay together. All right, so I'm going to finish this up, and then I'll meet you for the corner. So here I have the rest of this edge finished up. So I repeated that pattern of chain 3, skip 3, 2 single crochet, and now we're got to the end. And if you remember, for the corners, we're going to have a chain, or I'm sorry, we're going to have a 2 single crochet, and then we're going to chain 1. Now, when you're working in the corners, I showed you before on our first corner how we're going to get through that one stitch, that one chain stitch all together. Now, when we get to the corners here, we do want to try and connect all of them together so that they all stay. So you can see here, I have them, so far, the 3 other corners, they're all going to be going through that same, they're all going to attach into the same chain 1 space. Okay, so I've already got that chain 1, and then I'm going to just insert my hook. Here you can see the 2 single crochet chain 1, you see the 2 single crochet chain 1. So we're going to go through that same hole. Oops. To pull it back. So I already did the chain 1. So now all we're going to do is start connecting down this side. So I'm going to turn it here, and I'm going to do the 2 single crochet. And remember, like before, we're going to do it in that same space. So I'll do my 2 single crochet, 1, 2, and then we'll do the same pattern as before with the chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and that's when I'm just going to start connecting now to this next piece. So this one is bunging. It's got a little bubble or something. So I'm just going to start working and connecting on here, and I'm going to connect into this first space. So I'll take my hook out like before and pull it up and over. Then we skip the 3 spots, 1, 2, 3, and we keep going like we were going before with the 2 single crochet and then the chain 3, skip 3. All right, so that's how we're going to go ahead and add on all the rest of the squares and do those corners. The corners are probably the hardest spot, but in the end, I'm going to lift you up now. We want to have it so that all 4 of the pieces are going through that same spot, so there's not a big hole here in the middle. All right, and then after that, what you're going to do is just finish off this edge. Make sure to link the corner here like we did at the beginning and in the middle, and then you're going to finish down and just end it together with the slip stitch, and then you can just start adding on your different squares wherever you'd like. Like I said before, this one can be modified, so if for whatever reason you have too many or too little of stitches in the squares that you're attaching to each other, you can kind of play with it and, you know, maybe make your chains shorter or longer, depending on how many pieces you need to account for. The only thing I would say is just make sure that you're laying it flat while you're working with it to make sure that it's going to continue laying flat. Sometimes when we hold our pieces in, well, you know, when you hold your crochet in your hand, you might be causing bubbles or ripples or something that you're not going to realize until you go to lay it flat, and then it's not laying flat like a blanket should. So you can see kind of here, I might try to do something to shorten up something, because I don't know why my linked, this is the linked double crochet. It's a very tight piece, and when I was putting the border on, it just didn't work properly. But that's also something that will probably flatten out once we work with it, or once we wash it once. So if you guys have any questions, let me know. I'm very happy to answer questions. And if you have a Facebook, I have the Facebook group, the Crocheting Along with I'll put the link to it. I can't remember the name for it right now, but I'll put the link to it in the description of this video. And if you join that group, just answer the questions and join the group. And then you can post pictures about any of my patterns and I'll help you out with them. I'd love to see your progress on any of the squares or as of the borders, any of the stitches that you've tried. I know that there's people that have shared work that they learned with like the feather stitch or the angel wing stitch, where they worked it out into a full blanket or something different like that. So to kind of close things out today, I want to give a big thank you to my pattern testers and to all of you who have done this crochet along or just came to learn a few things from me. It means so much, and this has been a lot of work and a lot of dedication. Unfortunately, the pandemic kind of changed my life a little bit, so I wasn't able to go on with this as I had originally planned. But I'm very happy to have finally finished this off. So now I'm going to start joining all of our stitches together. So it's very exciting. These are all of the stitches that we did. And I really want to say thank you to my pattern testers that helped me with the written patterns, to Gail and Angela. They helped me so much and helped suggest some of the patterns when I was having a hard time finding the next stitch, like this one, which was the dragonfly. So I really want to thank everyone who has been on this journey with me, and to the moderators of the Just Another Crochet Along group or Just Another Crochet group for sticking with it throughout the end. And if you guys have any questions, I'll always be here. There's just more and more stitches. They never end. Oh, the diamond trellis. So thank you guys. Here they all are. Sorry for the camera work here. I hope to be in front of you guys again. I do have a video coming out. I'm going to be sharing kind of the process that I had for the pizza lovey, which was my most recent completed project that I did a lot of TikToks on. So I'm going to make a little compilation video about that. So please stay tuned. Please subscribe to the channel and keep looking at what I'm working on in the future. I hope to do some smaller projects until I can dedicate more time to this. So thank you guys, and if anybody asks where I am, just tell them she's stitching.